Hello students, welcome to this session. For assistance, you can always contact me on my mobile number. In case you want to send your valuable feedback, please use this email address. And for notes and other such things, in case you are in need of, please use the folder with the name Teaching Gadgets available on the website learnmyway.in. Now, we start with a very important part of that is how pathogens cause diseases. Already we have studied about diseases. We have started with this unit. Now pathogens they cause diseases by two very common mechanisms. One is the tissue damage. Here we find the pathogen enters the body of the organism and subsequently it is going to damage a couple of cells or maybe uh, more cells, and that damage is going to cause ailment in the body. Common example is tuberculosis, then meningitis. In toxic excretion, when the pathogen enters the body, it secretes various types of toxins, and these toxins they are going to interfere with the physiology of the animal and subsequently lead to various types of problems. Now toxins may be exotoxins, as we find in case of tetanus, diphtheria and botulism, or they may be endotoxins like typhoid, cholera, bubonic plague and dysentery. Well students, I would like to draw your attention the toxic excretion once again. Now exotoxins and endotoxins, as we know, there are two types of toxins which are released in the body of the organism. Now exotoxins are released as soon as they are produced. For example, diseases like tetanus, diphtheria, botulism, etc. So as these toxins are produced by these organisms, the pathogens, they are released and subsequently causing ailment. But in endotoxins, mechanism is little different. The endotoxins are retained in the bacterial cell and released when bacteria die and disintegrate. So here we find that it is possible only after the death of the pathogen that toxins are released. Viral diseases. Viral disease or viral infection occurs when an organism's body is invaded by pathogenic viruses or maybe by infectious virus particles called virions. In the structural characteristics, we find that the basic structural characteristics such as genome type, replication site, they are almost more or less common within the same family of viruses. There are 5 double-stranded DNA families of viruses. 3 of these 5 double-stranded DNA families are non-enveloped. These are adenoviridae, then papillomaviridae and polyomaviridae. So these are non-enveloped families. There are 2 enveloped families. One is herpes viridae and another one is pox viridae. There is one family of partly double-stranded DNA viruses, Hepdana-viridae, and one family of single-stranded DNA viruses that infect humans is Parvoviridae. These viruses are non-enveloped. We are not going to discuss about the classification of viruses as such, but since these names you will find quite often in our discussion, so that is why it is very important that we should know a little bit of this classification of viruses also. In viral diseases, the very important one is the viral hepatitis. Now this virus hepatitis, very commonly we know this by the name jaundice. In jaundice or viral hepatitis, in the early stages we find that the liver is enlarged and congested, but later on, as the disease progresses, the liver becomes smaller, turns yellowish or greenish in color. In the earlier phase of viral hepatitis or jaundice, symptoms are fever, epigastric discomfort, anorexia, nausea, vomiting, pains in muscles and joints. The urine is dark and stool is pale. This condition of leukopenia is followed by lymphocytosis. Leukopenia is also known by name leukocytopenia. In leukopenia, what happens, students? There is a decrease in the number of white blood cells. Well, as you are aware of, RBCs and the white blood cell, that is leukocytes, very important corpuscles in the blood. So the count of leukocytes decreases in the beginning, and as the number of leukocytes decreases, this places the individual at a great risk of infection. Another term which we have just used was lymphocytosis. What is lymphocytosis? Now, lymphocytosis is an increase in the number of lymphocytes in the blood. As you are aware of, you must have studied this in your previous class in blood, the topic blood, or you can again refer to the notes available on the website. In adults, lymphocytosis is present when the lymphocyte count is greater than 4000 per microliter. If the count is more, it means there is this ailment of lymphocytosis. In older children, if number is greater than 7000, then this condition takes place. And in infants, the number is around 9000 per microliter. In our blood, lymphocytes normally represent 20 to 40% of circulating white blood cells in our blood. At times we find in this disease there is an enlargement of spleen. So splenic enlargement is there at times when we talk of jaundice. Now hepatitis has got 5 varieties as shown: hepatitis A, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, then D, and finally hepatitis E. The first time hepatitis A was reported in 1973. The B was reported before that in 1966. Hepatitis C was reported in 1989. The D was reported in 1977, and hepatitis E was reported in 1980. Now the causative agent or the virus as is identified is HAV for hepatitis A, HBV for hepatitis B, HCV for hepatitis C. Now this is also known by another name NA and B, where it is non-A and non-B. We are not going to discuss further on this. Otherwise, it is a very important, it's very interesting discussion why this name NA and B. But now we say it very clearly that is HCV, that is for hepatitis C. Now hepatitis D is caused by virus HDV. Lastly, the hepatitis E is caused by virus HEV. Now we have to examine that which are the nucleic acids present in these viruses. In A it is RNA, in B it is DNA, in C it is again RNA, D and E also have got RNA like hepatitis A and hepatitis C. Their incubation period is once the pathogen enters the body, how much time it takes to appear and cause the disease. The period is 15 to 45 days in case of hepatitis A. It is 30 to 180 days in case of hepatitis B. In hepatitis C, I think there is some problem with the slide as such. We have to examine this part. It takes more than 20 days, maybe 20 to 90 days, I believe, but I'll check in the end. Then hepatitis D has got an incubation period of 30 to 50 days, and hepatitis E has got 50 to 60 days. Now this liver cirrhosis is caused due to hepatitis C, which subsequently leads to liver transplantation. So this is due to hepatitis C. So students, kindly make a correction, as I had earlier mentioned. For hepatitis C, the incubation period is 20 to 90 days. There was some spelling error here. This one more type of hepatitis occurs, called hepatitis G. This hepatitis G is caused by hepatitis GB virus, called GB virus C or GBVC. Formerly it was known as hepatitis G virus, HGV, and also known as HPGV. So basically this is a virus of family Flaviviridae, or and also a member of the genus Pagevirus. Now there are records that it infects humans, but not known for any disease it causes. But a very interesting thing which has been reported about this virus is, that is hepatitis GB virus, is that the patients having HIV present, HIV patients co-infected with this virus, that is GBVC, have been found to survive for longer period than those without this. But we cannot draw any conclusions here, because this report is still not very, I mean, it's very difficult to say that how it is going to really do the whole thing. But then this is what has been reported. Then comes the next type, that is dengue fever. Dengue fever is also known by the name break-bone fever. Now it is caused by an RNA containing arbovirus, that is arthropod-borne virus of Flavivirus group. Well, this group also causes yellow fever. Thus, the virus which causes dengue fever is a mosquito-borne flaviriovirus. Now, this virus is transmitted by the bite of tiger mosquito, Aedes aegypti. This mosquito is a daytime feeder and mainly bites in the morning or late in the afternoon. That is why we find that it is suggested that one should put on the clothes which cover most part of your body during the morning and evening hours, so that one can save himself or herself from this virus. The vector for this virus is Aedes aegypti. Is basically active during morning and evening sessions, morning and evening hours. The incubation period for this disease, that is dengue fever, is 3 to 8 days. Now there are two types of fevers reported. One is the classical fever and second is dengue hemorrhagic fever. The classical dengue is basically an acute viral infection caused by at least four serotypes. Though there are five serotypes reported, but four we are going to have here. One is DENV1, DENV2, DENV3 and DENV4. Now this distinction between the serotypes are based on their antigenicity. When we talk of antigenicity, it is the capacity of a chemical structure either in the form of antigen or hapten to bind specifically within a group of certain products that have adaptive immunity. That is, they have got T cells, T cell receptors or the antibodies. Now, what are these uh, haptens, or what do you understand by this term hapten? Now, haptens are small molecules that elicit an immune response only when attached to a large carrier such as a protein. So here we find that haptens basically they are depending on attachment with a protein only, then they can act, unlike like the antigens. Beside these four serotypes, as I've told you, that there's another one reported, that the fifth one, but uh, we do not find any relevance here. So we won't discuss the fifth one. Then comes the second type of dengue fever. So the dengue hemorrhagic fever. Now this dengue hemorrhagic fever is a severe form of dengue fever caused by infection with more than one dengue virus. The severe illness is thought to be due to double infection with these viruses. The first infection probably sensitizes the patient, while the second appears to produce an immunological catastrophe. So, quite a dangerous one. Classical dengue fever. Let us examine the symptoms of this fever. Symptoms include abrupt onset of high fever, severe frontal headache, then pain behind the eyes which worsens with the eye movement. Uh, the patient experiences pain in muscles and joints, loss of sense of taste and appetite. There may be measles-like rash over chest and upper limbs. The patient may also feel nausea and may vomit. The other one, that is dengue hemorrhagic fever. The symptoms include bleeding from the nose, mouth, gums and skin bruising. Then severe and continuous stomach pains, frequent vomiting with or without blood, pale, cold or clammy skin. A patient may report excessive thirst, dry mouth condition. The pulse is rapid, weak pulse, difficulty in breathing, and there may be restlessness and constant crying. So these are the symptoms of both the types. As far as vaccine is concerned, no vaccine for dengue fever is available, but we can prevent this fever by eliminating mosquito breeding places, by covering small water containers, water tanks, changing the water of cooler every week. So these are basically the breeding grounds for this mosquito Aedes. So if we adopt these means, probably we can save ourselves from this dreaded disease. Then comes yellow fever. Yellow fever is caused by a virus which is known as flavivirus, and subsequently there is a lifelong immunity we get after this, transmitted by the same mosquito as we had studied earlier also, Aedes aegypti mosquito. Another disease caused by a mosquito, that is Aedes, is chikungunya. This is an infection caused by the chikungunya virus. Now the symptoms include sudden onset of fever 2 to 4 days after exposure. This fever may last for maybe 2 to 7 days. Viruses passed to humans by two species of mosquitoes. Here we find two important species, that one is Aedes albopictus and the second is Aedes aegypti. The virus circulates within a number of animals including monkeys, birds, cattle and rodents. Now this chikungunya has got a contrast here with the dengue. Now as we find this chikungunya is basically viruses circulating among different animals like monkeys, birds, cattle and rodents. So I mean diverse groups of animals. But the virus of dengue is more or less for primates only. So in contrast to dengue, in contrast to chikungunya, dengue is basically a disease of primates. Only primates are affected. The next disease, which is caused by virus, is common cold. There are about 100 types of rhinoviruses. So rhinovirus is the main group. In this virus, we find that there may be infection of nose and upper respiratory passage, causing inflammation of mucous membranes. This disease is cured automatically after 3 to 7 days. So if you take medicine, you may get cured in 7 days, and if you don't take, then it may take a week or so. Then comes mumps.